Hey, welcome to me showing you how to prove the cosine addition formula. And here is our formula that I'm trying to prove. The idea that cosine of s minus t is equal to cosine of s times cosine of t plus the sine of s times sine of t. We are going to make a lot of use of the distance formula. So I thought I'd put that up. Now I'm going to bring out the unit circle and we're going to manipulate it a little bit. So to remind you, this is what we're trying to prove, that this statement is equal to this statement. And we start with the unit circle, and we got a triangle drawn out, and we have an angle S bringing us out here. And if you extend this out to the unit circle, these are the coordinates. Cosine S and sine S are the coordinates of this point Q, and cosine T and sine T are the coordinates of point P. And this is simply T. We have this entire circle is x squared plus y squared equals 1. And so we have that distance from P to Q. Here comes the distance formula that I said we were going to use. And it's the difference in the x's of both points. So this is the x coordinates. We're looking at, see, we have that cosine is right here. And this cosine t is right here. Our sine s is here, and our sine t is here. Now, if I were to actually multiply this out right here, which I actually need to, I'll do it down here. We have cosine s minus cosine t, and that whole thing has to be squared. So that's equal to cosine s minus cosine t times cosine s minus cosine t. Okay, so these being multiplied is cosine s, cosine squared s, and then this is minus cosine s cosine t minus another cosine s cosine s cosine t, right? And then the last one here is negative times negative is positive, cosine squared t. Now what I will further show is this right here. That is minus 2 cosine s cosine t. And then, of course, you still have the cosine squared s and the cosine squared t. So all of this whole thing here needs to get written up here. So I'll have equals, and then in blue is the cosine squared s minus 2 cosine s cosine t plus cosine squared t. And then what I have to do is I have to add in this this last part where I'm going to erase this stuff here to give myself some room. I have to then expand out the second one, which hopefully won't be so bad. So what are we looking at? We're looking at I won't do it. I'll do it in green. Oops. I'll do this in green, which I don't think I could do. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we have sine s minus sine t, and the whole thing is squared. So that is sine s minus sine t times, once again, sine s minus sine t, and we'll multiply this all out. And so similarly, it'll be sine squared s minus sine s sine t and then minus another sine s sine t, which was here. And then here is positive sine squared t. And then this is minus 2 sine s sine t plus sine squared t, and we have sine squared s. So I'll have to I'll have to add on here sine squared s minus 2 sine s sine t plus sine squared t. And all of that has the, oops, maybe I'll do this, black. All of this has the square root underneath it. That's a lot going on there. So what can we notice here? Well, what we can notice is we can condense this a little bit, thankfully. We have, look at this, cosine squared plus sine squared s, that is equal to 1. And cosine t plus sine squared t, that's also equal to 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So we can have now equals a nice big square root, and both of those equal 2. And then, of course, we have the minus 2 cosine s cosine t, and then the other minus sine s sine t. And we got that now. Now, what we're going to do is something a little bit sneaky, and we're going to apply this. Notice here, we have the unit circle, we have the same unit circle, and we actually have the same triangle here. All we did was rotate it. We rotate it so P is at the point 1, 0. So if this gets brought down here, now the point is at 1, 0. And if here, so this point Q is, let me say here, this was a distance t from the x-axis, and now it's down low. So now if that's a distance of t, then this distance here, as we rotate this over, is going to be s minus t. That angle distance is s minus t. Okay, so if we bring this over here, then that is going to be s minus t, right? Because we just subtracted t here, so we have to take this point s, q, right? Or angle s, I should say, angle s, and subtract t from it right there. So as we do so, we now arrive at this point, s minus t. And if this, this whole thing is s minus t, and then that distance t has been brought down, we've subtracted t. So now it's resting on the x-axis. Kind of sneaky there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to apply the distance formula again. We're going to save our work up there for now and apply the distance formula one more time. And we're going to say, well, we're looking for the distance PQ. That's equal to the square root of the difference of the x coordinates. So that shouldn't be so bad. We have the cosine of s minus t. Great. And the other x coordinate. So one x coordinate is here. The other one is there. So the difference between those. So minus 1. And this whole thing has to be squared. And then plus the difference in the y coordinates are these two. So that is sine of s minus t minus 0. And you got to square that. Okay, so let's actually square them. So, and I'm going to do down here because I'll probably end up simplifying things a little bit. So cosine of s minus t minus 1 squared, I'll just go in and say cosine of s minus t minus 1. Oops. That was in the wrong spot right there. And then I guess I'll put brackets here, and I'm just going to be multiplying these. So that's cosine squared s minus t minus cosine of s minus t minus another cosine of s minus t, and then plus 1, right? Because negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1, right? So I just FOIL the whole thing. And then what can we do here? We have, this is minus 2 cosine of s minus t plus 1 cosine squared s minus t. So, okay, so there it is. I'm going to do that right now. I'll put it up here. I'll put it I'll put it in red. This I'll write in red. So cosine squared s minus t minus 2 cosine s minus t plus 1. Okay, there's that part. I'm going to put this in a... Okay, there. And then I need to do the other part. I got to expand that out and see if I can simplify things a little bit before I put it under the radical. So I'll do it in blue here. So sine of s minus t minus 0 sine s minus t minus 0. So that's sine squared of s minus t, and then so that's that, and then multiplying it times 0, 0, multiply that times 0, multiply that, and so, hey, that's nice. So this just can get written here. That's plus sine squared of s minus t. Okay, nice. Well, once again, this and this cosine squared of something of an angle plus sine squared of the same angle is going to be 1. And we have a 1 here. So altogether, if I simplify this, I have 1 plus 1 is 2 minus 2 cosine s minus t. Oops, parentheses. Okay, you know what? I'll put that under a black one there. Okay, that's great. So PQ is equal to all of that. Well, but we also said that PQ is equal to the earlier thing, which is it's up here. So if I have this here, they're equal to each other, right? It says, I'll just do this. I'll just jump right in and say these are supposed to be equal to each other. Well, I can square both sides. Nice. If I square both sides, let's bring this like here, and I'll erase some of this here. Don't need this stuff right now. So if I square both sides, then what I have left is 2 minus 2 cosine of s minus t equals 2 minus 2 cosine s cosine t minus sine s sine t. Okay. Well, and then of course, if I subtract 2 from both sides, I'm left with negative 2 cosine s minus t of s minus t minus 2 cosine s cosine t minus sine s sine t. Great. Meanwhile, I forgot that there was supposed to be a 2 right there. Forgot to add that in, but I just did. Now what we can do is we can factor out on the right-hand side. If we factor out negative 2 times cosine s cosine t minus sine s sine t. It's a good thing I saw that there, negative 2, and then the left hand side is this. Then we could divide both sides by negative 2. They cancel out. And so, here's the money shot right here. Cosine of s minus t equals cosine s cosine t minus sine s sine t. Good golly, that one was super long, but that is the proof of the of the whole angle addition, or in this case subtraction for cosine formula. And there you go, back to your regularly scheduled proof.